Hello, my name is Eric Kelley. I'm a finance professor at the University of Tennessee, and I'm also a faculty fellow with the Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge. Here I'm going to be going through the best birthday ever case. This is one of the cases that was featured in the MECC Online Rounds in the fall of 24, and we're also using this as training for the 2025 season. So this is a case that involves a lot of data. Okay, and so it's also the type of case that has a series of multiple choice questions here on the final tab. And so when I get a case like this, I typically take a few minutes to look at the information that I'm given, and then after doing that, I just basically walk through it in order based on the questions, because oftentimes these questions will kind of build on one another in terms of the types of logic that they use. So let's take a quick look here at the data that we have. So here we've got a list. The list of names and birthdays. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. And then we've got what looks like a calendar here for 2024 that has dates here. And if you'll notice that on each one of these are formatted as Excel dates, so we can see the exact dates in 2024. And then there's these color-coded days that correspond to various FMWC dates throughout here. All right, so let's get started. So these first few questions are all just going to deal with the dates, so the birthdays themselves. So this data right here. So I'm going to make my life just a little bit easier by formatting this is a table. So select the whole thing and Control T for a table, and it includes headers. Now to make my variable names a little bit easier to work with, I'm going to rename this column B Day. So it'll be the birthday variable. And then let's go into the name manager. So that's Control F3. And I'm going to change the name of this table to make it look a little bit more usable. So I'll click edit, and I'm going to call this table, we'll call it table. Okay, so now I can use nice table references and all my lookup functions to determine the answers for these next few questions. Question number 1 says, how many people were born before January 21st or January 1st, 2000? So we're going to be looking at this data set and just we just need to count the dates that are before January 1st, 2000. Be straightforward with a, I'm going to use a count ifs for that. So equals count ifs. Now I can use my table references. So my table name is table BD. Variable name is BD. And my criteria is going to be less than, and I'm going to concatenate that to date, and that date's going to be year 2000, month 1, day 1. And I see that the answer is 14. I can see if I've got 14 as an answer choice, and I do. Question 2 says, how many birthdays occur on a Tuesday? Now, this is in 2024, and so we're going to have a little bit of preliminary work before this one. So we've got to get the day of the week of their birthday, not on the year it happened, but during 2024. And so we'll go with B-Day 2024. So that is going to be the same day, the same month, but the new year of 2024. So I got to get that into a date format. So I'm going to make this equals date. And so my year is going to be 2024. My month is going to be the month of their actual birthday. And the day is going to be the day of their birthday. Close my parentheses. There's my birthday in 2024. So now I want to know the day of the week. So D-O-W, or actually, let's call it weekday. W-K-D-Y. Weekday in 2024. Now, lots of ways we can get a weekday here. We could use like a weekday function that's going to return a number between 1 and 7. I actually prefer using text. So using text, I can give it this date and then tell it the format that I want to return. And so we've got several options here. So we'll just go with just play with some of these for a minute. So look at the D. That's going to be the day. So DD, 2-digit day. DDD. There we go. Now we got the weekday. So we can keep on going here. Just play with this. It's kind of an interesting function to play with. And so we got a few options here that we can use in these formats. So I'll just use the three-letter weekday. How to make this one pretty straightforward now. So I can do, once again, count ifs. And here I'm going to use my birthday table, and I want weekday 2024. And I want that to equal just TU. 184 of those. And there we go. Question number 3 says, in 2024, which day of the week has the most birthdays? So this is a multi-level process here. So I'm going to need to summarize the birthdays by the day of the week in 2024 and identify which one occurs most frequently. So I'm going to use the group by function. Go ahead and label some stuff that I've done out here so I don't lose track of things. So Q1, Q2. So I'm going to go over here to the right space and add Q3 because I need a little bit more space to do it. So Q3 is going to be out here. So equals group by. And the group by function, I need the row fields. This is going to tell me, identify the variable by which I'm going to do the summary. So this variable determines the groups. So table B, that's going to be weekday 2024. And then the value that I'm interested in, so that's just going to be the birthdays. And it's the birthdays in 2024. And then finally, I need to tell it which function to operate on for each group. So it's going to be the count. And so now I've got a dynamic array that is returned that has a list of all of the different values of the weekday and the count for how often they occur. There's eyeballing here. I can see that the most frequent day is Sunday. So there's my answer. Question number 4 says, in 2024, how many birthdays occur on the 3rd Tuesday of the month? So I'm going to solve this by thinking about an algorithm to determine whether a day is potentially the 3rd Tuesday or not. And so just imagine with me for a minute, what is the earliest date of a month that could be a 3rd Tuesday? Well, if the first of a month is a Tuesday, then the third Tuesday would be the 1st plus 7 plus 8 plus 7 is 15th, the 15th. Okay, so we need the date to be, the day needs to be greater than or equal to 15. What's the last day of the month? It could be the third Tuesday. Well, the first day of the month is the 7th, Tuesday the 7th. Then we've got Tuesday the 14th and then Tuesday the 21st. So day has got to be less than or equal to 21. And then, of course, the weekday has got to equal Tuesday. So those three conditions need to be met in order for a birthday to be on the third Tuesday of the month. Now, in order to check for these conditions, I'm going to go back and add another variable here to my table. I'm going to call this the day in 2024. So that's going to be the day birthday. Okay, so I can just check to see if that variable is either greater than or equal to 15 or less than or equal to 21. Okay, so now let's build a count ifs. And my first criteria range is going to be the day. And I need that to be greater than or equal to 15. Second criteria can be that same variable and it needs to be less than or equal to 21. And then the third criteria that I'm checking for, the day of the week. Either weekday, and that needs to equal Tuesday. So there are 45 birthdays that are on the third Tuesday of the month. Question number 5 says, considering 7-day periods starting on each Sunday within 2024 and ending on the next Saturday, which week has the most birthdays? So for question 5, I'm going to go in here to the case data and I'm going to create a new variable that references the Sunday at the beginning of each birthday's week. And then I'm going to do some counting based on that variable. Now, in order to do that, I need a helper variable here. So I'm going to get the weekday number. And so that's going to be equals weekday of this variable here. So Wednesday is 4, Sunday is 1, and Saturday is 7, and so on. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the integer that corresponds to the actual birthday and subtract this number minus 1. So I'm going to subtract 3 from this day, and that's going to give me the Sunday for that particular birthday. So we'll go call this variable Sunday. So that's going to equal the birthday in 2024 minus weekday minus. And so there's my Sunday. All right, so now I should be ready to do some work here for question number 5. I'm going to use the group by function again. by, and my row fields here are going to be that Sunday variable. And the values are going to be the birthday. And I'm going to do, once again, a count. Okay. Now, change that format to dates. I can kind of make sense of this. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the maximum value here. So it's the maximum number of birthdays. And I'm not going to include that first one because that first Sunday is in December. Max, and then I'm going to do an X lookup, look for that value, column, and we'll return and looks like it's January 24. We'll enter that as question number 6 says how many birthdays occur in the last 5 days of the month. And so to do that one, go in here and create another variable. So I'm going to create a variable that tells me the month end minus 5 days, and that's going to be our threshold value, and then we'll condition on it a day being after that threshold. So we'll call this threshold. And so to get to the threshold, I need to go to the end of the month first. So EO month, and the starting date would be the birthday in 2024. Months, I'm going to go 0, so it's going to be the last day of the month. Change it to date so we can make sense of it. Okay, so I need to take that. The threshold is going to be the end of the month minus 5 days. Okay. Next variable, I'm going to call this one last 5. So this is going to be a 1 if you're within the last 5 and a 0 otherwise. So here we're just going to say equals if the birthday is strictly greater than the threshold. That means it's in the last 5. We're going to give it a 1. Otherwise, we're going to give it. Okay, so now we've got this column of the last 5, and so we just need to count these. So we'll just sum that last column, use our little helper functions here. Sum is 226. And enter that as our answer. Question number 7. How many birthdays in 2024 have a half birthday? You get to a half birthday by taking the same day of the month 6 months later. And since different months have different numbers of days, that half birthday may or may not exist. So I am going to solve this problem, I'm going to try to identify the half birthday and then just check and see if it exists. And so I need to go from this day here to the same day 6 months into the future. And so the easiest way to advance months in Excel, at least the easiest way I can think of, is to first go to the end of the current month and then go 6 months later and then back up and go to the precise day. And so I'm going to take a couple of steps here. So we'll say end of month in 6. So end of month in 6 months. Here. I'm going to use the EO month function. I'm going to start with the birthday, and I'm going to go forward 6 months. And format that as a date. Check and see if that looks right. And it does. Those look like month ends, and they are 6 months later. And so now we'll go with half birthday. So the half birthday is going to be the date using the year of this EOM in 6, the month of this EOM in 6, but the day of the exact birthday. And there's our half birthdays. Now, this day function, it's not going to throw an error if the exact day doesn't exist, but instead it's going to advance to the next day. And so an easy way to check to see if there is no half is going to be check to see if the day in this column here to 7 is the same thing as. So it's either going to be the same or it's going to be one day after. And so here I'm just going to say equals if day of the half birthday is not equal to this day, I'm going to return a 1, otherwise I'm going to return a 0. And so the number of 1s here is going to be the number of birthdays that have no half birthday. And so I can count those or sum those indicator variables. And so I see that there are 29. And so that should be my answer to this question. So 29. Question number 8. What's the sum of the days of the month for all birthdays that occur on weekend days in 2024? So the first step here is going to be to flag the days or the birthdays that are on either a Saturday or create another variable. And we're going to call this weekend. And I want this to be a 1 if the day of the week is a Saturday or Sunday, or a 0 otherwise. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to put an or statement in here. So or, so that needs to equal Saturday, or that needs to equal Sunday. My or statement. So if either one of those conditions are met, I'm going to put a 1. Otherwise, I'm going to put a 0. Okay, so now I need the sum of this column here if this is a 1. So since I'm using 1s and 0s, I can do a very simple sum product to get my answer. So Q6 here, so that's going to equal sum product. Table birthday, it's going to be the day. The product of that and 1, 0 weekend variable. 6, 7, 5, 5. 6755. Now to question number 9. So questions number 9 through 14 all deal with this calendar. And in particular, it's going to deal with things like weekends and weekdays and whether days are one of these special colored days. And so it turns out colored backgrounds without some kind of special assistance or some macros they're very difficult to deal with in Excel. So I'm going to do a little bit of this this part kind of manually. But so before I do anything, though, I'm going to make a copy of this calendar tab so that I'll, if I mess it up too much, I'll have the original to go back to. But before I do anything else here, I'm going to try to convert all of this stuff that's in calendar form. I'm going to try to convert it to a single column of dates, and then I'm going to have some flags that follow them that specify the types of days that they represent. And so I'm going to start then by just getting rid of some of this stuff here that is unnecessary. Clean it up a little bit. And so now I've got a bunch of dates and then also some cells with nothing at all in them. And so let's make a little bit of progress. So I'll see what this looks like by running it through a to-call function, which would essentially is going to take everything here and put it in a column. And I'm going to say ignore blanks here. So that puts everything into this column, and I'll change to date format again so that we can recognize things. So notice that some of the things that look like blanks have been ignored. Other things are being preserved, and so what that means is there's actually something in these cells, like a blank string, and so it's not recognized as a blank per se. So we got these gaps that we're going to have to deal with later on. But this is not too bad. First off, now the next thing I'm going to do is go in and make some changes to these various colored cells so that they will be easily identifiable later on. But before I do that, I'm going to take all of this stuff, and this is a very important step. I'm going to take all of this stuff and paste values over here so that if I change any of these underlying cells, those changes are going to spill over to this column, but the series of dates will be completely preserved. Okay, so I'm going to go now, since there's not a whole lot of these squares, I'm just going to go in and do this more or less manually. So I'm going to change these columns to letters, or these squares to letters, A, B, C, D, and E. All right, so let's go with the light blue squares first. So I'll hold down Control and select all these cells. Again, this is brute force manual effort here, but it is going to get the job done pretty quickly. I've tried doing things like selecting based on a format, but these aren't all exactly in the same format. So you get some different fonts and some different boxes and things like that. So it doesn't really work. Okay, so I've got all the blue cells selected. So a nice trick here, I want an A in all the cells. So I'm going to do A, and instead of hitting Enter, I'm going to hit Control Enter. And that's going to paste it in all of my selected cells. Do the same thing for the greens. Select all the greens. Pick them Bs. Pinks now. Oranges need to be Ds. Be real careful here that you don't accidentally deselect some cells. And then I need my dark blues. Those are going to be E's. And everything is all good. Okay, so now notice what's happened over here. Since this column is a dynamic array that references all those cells, I've had things change to the letters when I change them in that cell. So let's select this column and paste the values over here. And so now I've got some semi-clean data here. I'm going to have a column for a date and a column that tells me sort of what it is. Okay. So next thing that I'm going to do is let's eliminate all of these what appear to be blank spaces that we know are not actually blanks. So a very easy way to do this is to select everything and we'll just sort it. So data, sort, and I'm going to sort by the first column. So it's going to put everything in chronological order. And so that we can be completely clean here, I'm going to take all this stuff that is like blank strings probably. I'm going to hit delete. So now all of that's completely gone. Okay. So now I've got a couple of columns that I can work with pretty easily as I move forward. Now just to clean it up just a little bit more, I'm going to label the columns. So we'll call this one date and we'll call this one modified date. And since our questions deal with whether or not something's an Excel day, I'm going to create another variable that's just going to be a flag. I'm going to say, let's say, if is number. So if this is a number, so a date is a number, we're going to give Excel day a 0, and otherwise we're going to give it a 1. And copy that down. So there we can see that our cell dates are flagged appropriately. Okay. All right, now we should be ready to start cranking some things out. All right, so question number 9, once again, using the data on the calendar tab, how many Excel Esports days are there in 2024? So it should be the number of ones in this column. So if I sum that column of ones and zeros, I can see that I've got 53. My answer would be 53. Which day of the week has the fewest Excel Esports event days? So we're gonna need weekdays again, and we'll call this column our week day, and that's going to be equals text with the date and PD be a 3-character day, and it is. Copy that down. Okay. So to solve this one, this stuff to be question 9. So let's do a group by again. Group by, I'm going to do the weekday and the values are going to be, use this Excel day column, and calculation is going to be sum. I'm looking for the fewest, so that's going to be Tuesday. Question 11 says, what is the sum of the days of the month for all FMWC regular stages? Event day. What are those? Regular stage event days can be the A's. So I need to go over here to the modified date column, identify the A's and sum the day of the month. So let's create another variable here. Day. Month. There's our day of the month. Okay, that looks good. Hide these. So we're on question 11. Question 11, that's going to be a sum ifs. So the sum range is going to be this column. Then the criteria range is going to be the modified date column. And we want that to equal. We got 520 of those. Now we're on number 12. So from January 25th to December 5th, what is the longest consecutive sequence of days without an Excel Esports day? So we have a gap between days. Since we've got dates in order here, it should be pretty straightforward. So we're going to go January 25th. So starting on January 25th, we'll go back to January 24th here. And let's call this column the gap. Starting on January 25th, I'm going to say equals if the day equals an Excel day. So if it is 1 in that column, then the gap is going to be 0 because it's an Excel day. There's no missing Excel day there. Otherwise, I'm going to take whatever's the previous value of that. So it's the existing gap rolling forward and increment that by . Copy this down. Let's see if this is working the way it's supposed to. So here we've got a series of Excel days, 0, 0, 0, 0. There's the first non-Excel day, non-Excel, non-Excel. So we're incrementing the gap. And then we get to another Excel day, and we reset. There's our gap. Find the max of that. So max 34. Max gap is 34. Question 13 asks how many birthdays in 2024 occur on an esports event day. So we're going to have to combine some data here. I'm going to stay in this sheet, and I'm just going to count the number of birthdays. Days. So that's going to be a count ifs. The criteria range it's going to be in the birthday column. And it's going to be the birthday in 24. And criteria is going to be this day. Now I can copy that all the way down. I've got the number of birthdays on each of these days. Now I want to know birthdays in or on Excel days. So I'm going to use my 01 flag. And so the birthdays in the Excel day is going to equal the sum product of the birthdays column and the Excel days column, and that's 197. And finally, question number 14, how many birthdays occur on an esports event day and on a weekend? And back here to this data set, we've got this flag that's going to tell us that we're on Excel day. So let's just add another flag here and we'll call it the weekend flag. So this is going to be equals if I'm going to create an or because I want to be the weekday is going to be a Saturday or a Sunday. So the or is going to be the weekday equals Saturday or the weekday equals Sunday. That conditions is satisfied, then it's a weekend. So I'm going to give it a 1. Otherwise, I'm going to give it 0. And let's see if that looks right. So there's some Saturdays and Sundays there. Yep, those look good. Okay, so I can do sum product again. And I'm just going to take the sum product of these 3 columns. So this one, both of those have to be 1 for this to get us to a 1. And then I'm going to multiply that by the number. So equal product. Excel day. Weekend. And birthdays. Answer is 74. And that completes the best birthday case. Hope you enjoyed.